What did the weird kid in your school do that you'll never forget? Story number 1, he was weird as fuck, but he smeared dog shit on his bully's combination lock before school and everybody called the bully shithands for 2.5 years. Story number 2, mouthed off to the teacher who got so angry he stormed down the aisle, grabbed the kid's desk and slid it, with the kid still sitting in it, all the way to the back of the class and made him sit there for weeks later. Same kid had a big brother who caught a fly in the library and popped it in his mouth and swallowed it whole. We later heard after high school that the kid was goofing around with a gun and accidentally got shot his big brother. Story number 3, he brought a whole rotisserie chicken to class and ate it like an apple during a lecture. Story number 4, he had a tooth he was able to easily remove and put back in for some reason and would do it for a quarter. Surprisingly, I think he actually made quite a bit of money doing it because I constantly saw people paying him so good on him, I guess. Story number 5, he used to get made fun of for having a Thomas the Tank Engine rolling backpack, so he set it on fire in the bathroom. Story number 6, hit the school bully over the head with a mini baseball bat and split his head wide open. The school bully was absolutely brutal, but I winced seeing it. Story number 7, weird kid was charged with aggravated battery and expelled from school. He ended up becoming a very successful diesel mechanic. He wasn't weird at all but didn't fit into what the school and suburb considered to be normal. Story number 8, he was a rancher's kid, and he showed up on the high school campus in a front loader filled with bagels. Literally hundreds of bagels, and poured them out on the central terrace. 6-foot-high pile of bagels. He parked the thing back in the lot, walked back to his pile of bagels, and just started chucking bagels at people. Started a bagel fight that was legendary. They asked about the weird kid, not the cool kid. Story number 10, climbed into the first floor lab through the window as chemistry lesson was in progress, posed dramatically at the door, announced "Join me in the corridors of time" and left. Story number 11, brought firecrackers in the room and lit them up as we were having class. Story number 12, dude brought a waffle maker to school and during PE he stayed hidden in the dressing room until they locked it, and then he chilled there and made some waffles for himself until the class ended and the dressing rooms were unlocked again. The smell of waffles was nice though. Story number 13, there was a quiet kid in my school, Alex, who always carried a big notebook and sat alone, scribbling during breaks. One day, our art teacher asked him to share what he'd been working on. He had written an entire fantasy novel, complete with its own world, mythology, and languages. My class was amazed, and after that day, he was no longer seen as the weird kid but as the creative genius no one had noticed before. No idea where is he now though. Story number 14, in my school in Scotland, there was a guy called Willie. If you shouted "Willie, give us a wiggle," he would tuck his arms in like a T-Rex and shake his hips back and forth. That image has never left me to this day. AKA Willie Wiggle. Story number 15, there was a girl in high school who would hiss at people and carry around a stuffed pumpkin. She told me that I was fun to bully because I was too nice and wouldn't do anything about it. New low when you get bullied by the weird kid. Story number 16, he knew how to imitate the voices of the teachers very well. Sometimes he made jokes to the teachers imitating the voice of the director. He was so funny. Story number 17, we were playing baseball, he was either on the first or the second base, can't remember exactly, and I was next to him. He said, "Watch this, I'm gonna do something cool." He pulled his pants down and took a shit on the base. I was shocked and no one else saw it. I didn't know how to act, I was speechless. The kid batting got a hit and the kid who pooped on the base ran to the next base. Then the next kid went onto the base that had poop on it and slid. He was like, "Who the fuck shat on the base?" Story number 18, he had the worst laugh in the world and sometimes I would see him eating flowers, haha. Story number 19, the weird kid once brought a potato to class and insisted it was his emotional support vegetable. Story number 20, we had this kid in class that was bullied all through HS. Me and 3 others were the only people to talk to him and treat him as a normal human being. He was special and he knew that, so he didn't mind standing out, he just disliked the bullying. The principal knew all about the bullying but never did anything about it, but the kid never snapped. Instead, he started an anonymous online blog where he'd post all details about the bullying schoolwide and the principal called him into the office. The kid invited the local newspaper to join him. They wrote an entire article about it and the principal had to step up to save the school. The bullying also stopped and the kid was able to be weird again and could pick his nose and eat it without being bothered. Cool kid. Think he works at Apple now. Story number 21, there was this guy in my high school named Mike Tyson, yes that was literally his name, and he was high-functioning autistic with an incredible knowledge and obsession with cars and motors. He didn't take shit from anyone, not even faculty. He acted like the king of the school and would make motor sounds while power walking through the hallways and cut people off. It was hilarious because he was so serious while doing it. Nobody seemed to mind it either, that's just how he was and we all accepted it. Story number 22, he used to wear a suit and earpiece and pretend he was Secret Service. He was pretty harmless. Story number 23, turned out to not be who she said she was. She acted very standoffish. Turned out she was actually a 31-year-old adult woman suffering mental health issues. Story number 24, I was the weird kid TBH. I used to lie like Jay Cartwright in primary school. I think at one point I said my uncle owned Xbox and that I had a golden Xbox 720 that isn't coming out until next year, among many other stupid and insignificant lies. Everyone probably thought I was a dick, but luckily I've managed to channel that into writing fiction stories as an adult. Story number 25, he built a miniature rocket in science class and launched it during lunch, sending the whole cafeteria into chaos. Story number 26, put a slice of bologna in the teacher's CD player and pressed play. Nothing happened, but it was hilarious when the teacher went to put in a CD and was like, WTF? Story number 27, he asked another kid to lay his hand on the table and then he took a pencil and pierced the other kid's hand with it. I think we were around 7 years old at the time. Story number 28, I was one of the weird kids, got picked on mercilessly from 2nd to 6th grade for being quiet and timid. Then one day at recess I snapped and grabbed one bully by the shoulders and bounced his head off the concrete wall behind him. Then I got picked on for having anger management issues until I went to a different high school than all of them. Story number 29, more of a quiet guy than a weird guy, but he turns around out of nowhere and says, I'm going to fake a seizure. Sitting in the front, just blasts his desk and chair over, starts writhing around on the floor making crazy noise and knocking stuff over for probably 2 minutes. Just gets up and says, thought I was having a seizure. Teacher was just shocked, and just went back to teaching. One of the most out of character things I've ever seen anyone do, dude was like the polar opposite of a troublemaker. It was absolutely hilarious. But this was a pretty rowdy class and the teacher didn't really have much control over the room, so nutty stuff was happening all the time.